Hi everyone, this is a follow-up video to planting seeds indoors. I'm going to show you how to, what I do for taller plants like tomatoes and cucumbers, transferring them from the seed trays into a larger pot with potting soil. And here you can see I have some tomato plants. At this point they're ready to go to the next stage and next size up in pot. And I make these little trellises out of bamboo skewers with little tie wraps. So I have a separate video on that, but I'll show you briefly in this video how to make them. But it gives the plant good support as they're growing, or else they'll fall over and they don't establish stronger stems. So this is the way I do it. It works for me. It may not work for everyone, but I think it's a good little support for, again, plants that are vertical, fast growing vines, tomatoes, cucumbers, things like that, even peppers. Anything low growing doesn't need this, but I find this does help. So I'll just go through some of the steps that I take and I'll show you a few close-ups. If they're not always in focus, so forgive me for that, but I'll show you along the way what I do. So I've placed the plant in the pot, and I've added some growing stones on the bottom just for good drainage and make sure the roots don't spoil on the bottom. Here you can see I've taken a tie, just a regular garden twist tie, and you have to be very careful at this point not to over tighten. So basically you're making a large loop and you're just tightening the two ends of the twist tie and leaving room for growth. If you do it too tight, you're going to pinch the plant and it's probably not going to survive. So you can see I've left some room for growth there. And this is the other side. Again, you're just wanting it to be supported onto this little mini trellis. You have to be kind of careful at this stage that you don't break off any of the stems, so take your time. And then you add some last layer of soil on top. Don't worry about any stems on the bottom that you don't really need to snip them off. They'll with tomatoes, they send offshoots off their main stem for new growth. So don't worry about it too much at this stage about trimming. A lot of trim. You can trim them, all these little leaves off, but don't worry about it. The plant adapts, and it knows that there's soil around it, and it does send out side shoots, and it makes it actually a stronger plant. So here I'm going to add some water, and you want to give it a good watering in the first day. I don't water the second day because I really soak it the first day, but you don't want to over water. So give it a really good soak the first day. You can even rinse off some of the dirt there on the stems. And it looks like I'm being rough here with the plants, but they're pretty durable. Okay, so to finish off, you can see I have a fairly tall planter, so that's why I'm giving it a little bit extra water. But generally 3 to 4 inch pot is the size that I go. After they're in seed trays, I go to this size. And then you could even go one more size before you plant in your garden. Generally I think this is probably good enough. But yeah, some people they go to 6-inch pots before they plant in the garden. So in the first video I did show you some grids and how to keep track of what's where in your trays. So in this case, CPT is Cherokee Purple Tomato, so that's the ones I just planted. And you can see here I just have a little piece of masking tape with CPT on it, because when you transfer again you have to keep track of what goes where, else you'll forget, because you'll have pots everywhere. And so here you can see I'm putting some growing stones, some media, just in the bottom. It's almost like a false bottom where the water goes through there, and it keeps it relatively dry, and the roots don't get oversaturated and start to rot during that time that they're in there. So here you can see the mini trellis I make. Again, it's a separate video. I'll link in the description with that, and as well as the first video. So I use little mini 4-inch tie wraps and 3 little skewers. It takes a bit of practice because you it moves around on you a lot, but what I do is I put a towel down and slide the tie wraps underneath in a certain angle. So if you don't do it in this angle, you're going to end up having a lot of hard time. So feel free to watch the video and I'll show you exactly how to do it. Tighten them up, and then you can also adjust the height of the cross pieces. Generally you want your cross pieces fairly high up, and then the two sticks going into the soil. Here I'm just clipping off the excess tie wraps, zip ties. You don't want them in the way, and you don't want them over tightened. You want to be able to move things around a bit. Again, this is just for young plants. It's not supporting a lot of weight, so don't worry too much about it. I'm going to place it in the soil. I got the soil about half full in the pot. I've made a little divot for the seedling to go into, and there you can see the trellis itself, fairly high. So you can place a few, in this case I'm putting two plants in. You can always separate them later on when they grow a little bit bigger into maybe a 6-inch pot, but it depends how they're doing. Okay, so just press them in there. You're going to add a little bit of soil. And then the next step, but now this is just regular potting soil. I haven't gone to like triple mix or anything. The reason I do that is so you can press down on it. There's still a lot of, it's fairly loose, so that the plants get well established. The roots get well established. So press it down, and then I'm just going to water in here with a little pump sprayer that I use, which is really good because it kind of gets into the nooks and crannies. You can set the pressure, you just pump it up, and then you can adjust the flow and the spray, and it just gives a gentle spray. So again, give a good soak. Don't water the second day unless it really needs it, because it's pretty wet at this stage. You don't want to oversaturate. Here you can see inside the greenhouse I have some echinacea in the back too. So these are not vertical quick growing plants and vines, so they're just in little separate terracotta or plastic pots, and they're fine. They don't need the support like the trellis. These are petunias, some marigolds. Some are faster growing than others. They don't necessarily need the little mini trellis. I mainly reserve those for the cucumber and tomatoes. So here in our front room where there's lots of light, I have the cucumber and a tomato. They get generally enough light at this stage, but if you find they're struggling, then put them back in the greenhouse. But lately we've been getting a lot of sun, and I want to get that out front. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this series. Please ring the notification bell and subscribe for more videos. Thank you.